Let's move on from the Premiership now then, and we can have a chat with a Leinster and Island star who hasn't returned to club duty just yet. Andrew Porter joins us. How are you, mate?
Not too bad. How's it going?
Andrew, very good, mate. We're in a studio here in London. It looks like you're in a studio setup, or is that your bedroom? Have you gone all in on coming on the podcast and thought you're going to kit out your house ready?
I had to do it just for you since the last time I met you. I knew I had to up my style game,
You're taking style tips off Jim Hamilton?
Yeah, would you not?
No. You look very different, my friend. Your brand was like an amazing Mohican, hard as you like to look at. And you must have some sort of deal because you've gone for the old...
M&M.
Well, he's gone M&M, yeah.
Yeah, you're not the first to say
there you go, like the blonde tips and the mullet's gone. What's happened? Must be a hair deal.
Yeah, it was... Oh, no, I wish. Well, in fairness, I'm lucky to be able to pull it off. In terms of, I'm lucky to have hair still to be able to do it.
Correct, Jim.
Some lads on the team aren't so lucky. But no, it was literally the day I got back from France, and I was just I got a text actually off my barber, my mate Ben, and he was like, right, I know you need to pick me up, so come into the shop and I'll do what I can for you. And yeah, went in, great fella, needed a bit of a pick me up after flying back. Kind of reality kind of kicked in a small bit, so felt like I kind of just needed to change things up.
And have you spoken to your boy Finley, my holiday friend Finley Beelan, about it? Because you two are the hair boys, and he's obviously still got his, right?
Yeah, I think that suits him though. That's just his look now. The cornrows and the kind of Viking look. I'm still trying to find mine. Still looking around.
M&M's
still shopping.
Good. You can have whatever
you
you
want.
want.
On holiday with him? Did you say?
Yeah, I was in Dubai last year with him. Yeah.
Oh, jeez, how was that?
He was sweaty. He was very sweaty. So was I, for different reasons.
Yeah.
Andrew, you said that you needed to pick me up. Let's get straight into it. I was on the ground there. I say on the ground. I wasn't on the ground on the front line like you guys were, but the energy that your team, that Ireland brought to the tournament, and everything was building to that quarter-final. And I imagine for you, look, for me being there as a casual fan, it felt like when you got knocked out, and France as well, the tournament lost something. They lost some energy. And what you brought as a team, just give us an idea as a player, just actually how sad it was when you got knocked out and when you got home. You kind of referenced it there, but I imagine, mate, it was fucking incredibly tough to take.
Man, it's really, I'm still kind of trying to come to terms with it in my own head, but it was gutting. I've never felt that much of a kind of a low, I don't think, in my career. It's one of those things where obviously there was huge hype and huge expectation, and I think just the kind of the energy that was at home, and obviously all the fans that travel over from Ireland to create that unbelievable special atmosphere that I've never witnessed before. I think it was just kind of all that linked in together, and it's building up really, really high, and then it's like a roller coaster, and bang, it felt like you were just at the bottom. And it was if I came home and I thought that this is going to be great, in kind of different environment. But it was just, I was nearly I had too much time with my own thoughts then. And then, obviously you start playing everything back in your head and, thinking of everything you could have done differently, done better. And you're kind of, I was really struggling kind of myself, being at home, after being in such a great environment with all those incredibly special people and players and coaches and stuff like that for so long, and pre-season, and obviously the couple of weeks we were over in France. But coming home, I thought it would be great. I could spend time with my wife, which I hadn't got to do since we got married in July. We got married and we were straight back into camp. But I thought being able to see all my family, be able to see my friends, but I didn't want to do anything. I was just I was nearly just wanted to be by myself.
Yeah, well, I can see the emotion actually, and you sharing that, and I can't imagine because I'll go back. I felt it once the Irish went home, and look, I've been knocked out in the World Cup before, but there was no expectation on my Scotland team, whereas you were the number one team, and regardless of what anyone says, and the pressure wasn't there, the quarterfinal hoodoo, and the way that the game unfolded, I think there was a shock amongst the rugby world, just kind of what unfolded in that quarterfinal week. I would say that Ireland-New Zealand game was the best game of rugby. We were chatting about it, probably ever seen. Whether or not you ever watch it back or whatever, but the intensity is like something I've never seen. So I think, I imagine, and this is because having been knocked out of the quarterfinal but got hammered by Argentina, I say hammered, it wasn't as close as that game. I imagine that feeling of being so close probably makes it even worse. And obviously how ruthless it is as well. Like, the tournament carries on, doesn't it? You go home 2 days later, and it's almost like the tournament's happening without you guys that are there. So you get home, I can't imagine how low that you felt. Like, what was said, like, is there a debrief? Is there a decompression period? Or is it just off you go home, and we'll chat to you before the Six Nations?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, that like, when at the end of something like that, there isn't really a debrief. There was obviously a kind of a few words said for people, other people moving on, for obviously Johnny and Earlsey hanging up the boots, and a few other kind of staff members moving on to different roles and stuff. There was obviously a bit of that, but no real kind of closure, if you want. Like, there's no real closing the book on it. So it's something kind of I've had to deal with, kind of sleepless nights, kind of things, like things playing over in your head, that kind of thing. But I suppose it's just part of it. Like, it's part of the game we play, and obviously it was so close, so that's probably why it was a bit more gut-wrenching.
Yeah. Now, two-pronged question. It's probably a hard one to ask, actually. Since you've been back, have you watched back the game against New Zealand, for one? And then secondly, we're watching it and we think you've got the ascendancy in the scrums, but a certain Wayne Barnes didn't think you had the ascendancy, and now he's retired. Feel free to go full barrel at him, both barrels at him, and let us know what you think. Have you watched the game back? Have you looked at the scrums and all that stuff? No, it's not. It's not.
This is the part where you get cancelled.
What was the first question again?
Have you watched the game back?
Oh, no. I'm back in Leinster now, and obviously just been showing a few clips and stuff like that, but I haven't really gone through it yet. Like, it's something that I just think it would bring back bad memories. I know I probably should watch it in terms of obviously taking learnings from it, but I'll probably get around to it eventually. But
yeah, it must be. It's a really hard question.
The other one, the scrums. What about the scrums?
But that's what I mean. On that, specifically on the scrums, right? And there's a load of stuff in the World Cup which, we can impact when we sit here and talk about, like Sam Cane, red card, yellow card, was a red card, then gets a ban. Sia Khaleesi, should he have been red carded? The big one was Quagga Smith as well, with his hand on the floor, gets the turnover. Andre Apollo kicks it, knocks France, host nations, out of the tournament. As players, how tough is it? I mean, we've seen it in football as well. It's quite topical with Ange, the Tottenham coach, talking about how difficult it is for the referees. Yeah. In rugby as players, especially in the front row, right, and we saw the England-South Africa game as well, and there was talk of like different angles and all that's being played out on social media. As a player, how difficult is that, mate, on these 50-50 calls, which ultimately result in Ireland being knocked out of a World Cup, and they are 50-50 calls on the biggest stage? As a player, is that one of the difficult things where you can't say anything, you've got an opinion on it, you're going through the footage, other people are hitting you, shouldn't have been a penalty, that was a scrum penalty for you. Is that difficult as a player dealing with that?
Yeah, it's always, especially in the front row, because like you feel that like there is a kind of that added pressure and kind of responsibility on you, where a decision that doesn't go your way can kind of tip things in favour of the other team. So there's that kind of there's that side of it, but there's obviously the kind of the 50-50 calls, like you're, especially like a lot of the time you know when you're wrong. You know when you're in the wrong when a penalty is given against you, but when it's kind of the 50-50 kind of calls where you feel a bit hard done by, it's real tough not to get like worked up about it. Like I could even feel that in the New Zealand game in the quarterfinal. My blood was honestly boiling after a while, because like I felt like I'd been hard done by. Like there's a lot of people out there that probably disagree with me. They always have, but yeah, like it's I think it's tougher when you feel like those 50-50 calls aren't in your favor a lot of the time. But yeah, it's just one of those things that like being a ref is probably tougher than being a player with in terms of the amount of criticism you're going to get, because you're always, one team is always going to hate you at the end of the day, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose that's the tricky part.
Blame Wayne Barnes, that's all I'm saying.
But on
Yeah.
Andrew, on that, like the scrum specifically, I was throwing out some stuff in the media. Like, I probably said it live because I'm an idiot like that. But when you unpack the games, like both like club level in the Champions Cup as well and internationally, is there like a stat where the decisions are wrong around the scrum? Because it's a really topical conversation, isn't it? Like, people are talking about the importance of the scrum and should the scrum be in, and then the South Africa-England game, it came back obviously in 2019, South Africa won the final off the back of a scrum. Yet some of the decisions around that, is there a percentage where the referees on a whole, like as in they get 60 or 70% of the scrums right? I don't know whether as players and with the guys who do the stats that you're privy to that. Going into the game, the likelihood is that, I don't know, 4 out of 10 of these scrums are going to go the 50-50s, or they're going to be the wrong decision.
Yeah, like you do get kind of like after when you are kind of reviewing a game, you do, like, your coaches do come back to you sometimes and say, like I think they have like referee kind of meetings or debriefs like after games as well. Like they have them in the lead up to games, and then obviously in the kind of in the after the games they have them. But they come back and say, like that should have, they said that should have been a penalty to us, or that shouldn't have been a penalty, or whatever. But you kind of come to learn like referees' traits kind of coming into games, like in what they're looking for, and like obviously you get the whole spiel and chat before the game when they come in, and chat to the front rows and stuff. So that's kind of it really. You wouldn't really get much of the stats now, but I'd like to see it on paper though, how much they do get right.
How hard was it to get the boots back on and get back into training, or was it a blessing to be able to go in and, because people deal with grief in different ways, don't they? Some people crack on and the best thing you can do is get back on the horse. Other people, you need to mourn a bit. What was it like for you?
Yeah, well, like even in my time off, I went back kind of training. Just
a man for my own heart. That's what I'd have done. Yeah.
I just had to do something, and that's kind of nearly like, it was like therapy for me, being able to just go to the gym and
squats.
For a couple hours. And, yeah, exactly.
Get the squats in.
We're nodding like we know. We've never squatted in our life.
I don't know, I do 60 for about 4 now.
64. Actually, at my very peak, I reckon I was about 160 for 10, and that was like ass to... No, it wasn't pressed. No, it wasn't. No. But was that your therapy? Was it like, as in bang the weights on the squat rack and fucking go as hard as we can?
Basically, yeah. It was nearly like just kick the shit out of myself for 3 weeks. Just kind of... It was basically just to kind of get myself out of the house, because like people just couldn't deal with me. I was depressing to be around nearly, so I just had to go out and kind of stick my headphones on and go do something. But like it was good. Like it was good for me, and especially coming back to Leinster is I like in the first kind of week or two I was like, oh gee, I couldn't think of anything worse than going back and kind of playing right now. I wanted a bit of time away from this, but then when it actually came around to going in and training, I was around to go, and I couldn't wait to get in. And it's just having that other environment, having that different playing group around just gives you something else to focus on, really. And I think like we were welcomed back in incredibly well by everyone, and a lot of people understood kind of what we went through and after losing. But yeah, it was great to be back in and hopefully be able to get a bit of game time soon.
Has Charlie Naitai said anything? Because obviously he's a Kiwi, or is he very quiet? Hasn't got the bollocks to say anything.
No, he's quiet when he wants to be, but like he's a good fella. He's a very good fella. Like he's like our cultural leader.
So he read the room then. He read the room and was like,
don't say anything.
Just don't say anything right now.
No, it was. Yeah, bits.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to like the first few days. Everyone's got to walking on eggshells a bit. I was like, what do I say? What do I say to make this better?
That's why I sent you. I saw you were in New York, and I said he needs a comedy club. I know you didn't go to the comedy club, but I don't know where Caleb, the old Doris, was. But he looked like he was in some funky places. Was he in New York as well? I saw he was texting
Caleb
me on
went to,
Instagram.
Vegas.
There we go. Levels.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
There was a different level going on there. He was sending me some pictures.
I was in New York on my honeymoon, technically, and yeah, Caleb was off seeing. He went to U2, I think. Do you know the Sphere, whatever it's called?
Yeah.
He looked Caleb, the old Doris. He's got a bit of a
Living the dream.
He's got a bit of a streak in him, bit of a loose streak, has he?
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah,
That a boy. We like him even more.
yeah.
I'm not going to say too much now, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all we need. There's nothing more. We don't need anything more than that.
You should get him on next night. You might get a few stories out of him.
Yeah.
Andrew, you mentioned before about how hard it is coming back from the World Cup and the grief that you're going through. Obviously, a lot of fans go through it as well. And, it is November and it's Movember. I know you're kind of linked in with that as well. Like, how do you guys deal, like, as far as, like, not just going and doing exercise or not just getting back on the horse and getting back into rugby, but actually, are there any things in place for you guys to help deal with that situation mentally?
Yeah, like we have. So with Rugby Players Ireland here, they have like if you need them, like I know probably most of the lads probably don't, but there is like obviously kind of counselling services and stuff like that. You can talk to them because like I know some lads like kind of struggle to talking to people. So that's why like the Rugby Players Ireland have that set up for us. I think just like as well on like just for like mental health as well, just being able to have someone to talk to. Like it's I've talked about it before about mental health because I had my own struggles with it a while ago, but yeah, it's just having that outlet, like training. I think that's one of the best things for your mental health, just being able to kind of look after yourself in that way, being able to get your exercise in and work on things yourself that way. I think that's a huge kind of, it's like a pressure valve for me. Nearly, I can go and train and let off some steam, and then on top of that, just having my wife, having my family around me. It's and my mates, like being able to kind of chat shit to them. Like it's kind of what you need, just to have people there for you.
Good stuff. Now, you mentioned mates then and people around you. One bloke that's not going to be around you at all, probably. Johnny Sexton, having retired. How different is Leinster at the minute, or is it actually he never played in the URC or anything like that, so it didn't really matter, he's not around. But how different it's going to be without Johnny, obviously for Leinster and Ireland, but also at Leinster, Jacques Nienaber coming in as well. You had much contact with him?
No, I haven't had any. Well, I did a while ago, like when he was in Munster, and I was just a wee boy, like come through the academy, and there was kind of talk of me going down to Munster at the time, so I went down and met Razzie and Jacques.
Oh, you're brave! You were brave telling us this story.
Oh no, he's trying to get his value up there.
Value.
Smart. Out of contract soon.
This is my agent playing games who wanted me to go down to get a bit of a story going. But yeah, I remember meeting him. I haven't had much contact with him since at all, but only from hearing what the Munster lad said, I heard he's a top bloke and he's an incredible coach as well. And like to be having a world champion coach, 2 times he's won it, like with South Africa, to have him coming in is incredible. Be incredible for Leinster and for all the players. I definitely know that. But yeah, it'd be great to have him in. He hasn't been in yet, but I think he's coming back in soon when they've finished their flouting the trophy around.
Those mother.
Yeah.
And then Johnny's retiring. Who's taking his spot in the changing room? He's going to be a massive loss for any team, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's an absolute hero.
Yeah.
He's off in Dubai at the minute, sunning himself, loving life with Bernard Jackman, sticking the factor 50 on. But like, he's going to be missed hugely, isn't
he? Yeah, like he's like, when you think of kind of Ireland and Leinster, he's the person you think of. Like, he's the player that it kind of epitomises what it means to be an Irish and a Leinster rugby player. Like he's put so much into both jerseys over the years, and to be playing on the international stage at 38, like in to the and to the level of the quality he was playing at is incredible. And not just like a great player, like he was an incredible leader, just kind of on and off the pitch. Like he was one of those players that you kind of built your standards around. He set the standards in training, in both the club and first country. So, like it's gonna be strange nearly not having him there, because he was been there the whole time, obviously in the Irish and Leinster setups when I first came in. So it'll definitely be different not having him there, and not having Grumpy Johnny barking at you in training and on the pitch. So
Grumpy Johnny, I like that.
Yeah,
Well, he is
Grumpy
irreplaceable. He's one of them players where he's an irreplaceable player, like regardless of how you try and move forward in that space. But like with that, with moving forward, and maybe having Jacques Nienaber come in, it will be a kind of refresh for the squad. I'd only say this to Ireland, who won the Grand Slam, Leinster, who are there or thereabouts every year in the Champions Cup and the URC. But like, what does ambition look like now? I know this is a really hard question. We've gone quite raw and quite deep on here, but from a Scotland perspective, it's like, right, we need to try and do something in the Six Nations, or we've got to try and win the URC or do something in the Champions Cup. But as an Irish team, you've been world number one. You've been there or thereabouts. You've won the Grand Slam. What is the refocus? Is it freshening things up slightly? Is there a bit of a rebuild going on?
Well, like, to be fair, like it's not that much of a, like, we weren't that far off in the end. Like it doesn't take reinventing the wheel to kind of get back to where we were, like to get back to number one, to get back to winning Grand Slams in the Six Nations. And like, even with Leinster, it's like if we had the similar season in the kind of in the lead up to the finals, we'll be in a great place. Like, it's just kind of it's just we fell short in the end in for both club and for Ireland. So it's not reinventing or kind of reshaping anything. It's just kind of fine tuning things, I think.
What he's saying is everyone else is fucked as we're coming for you.
Yeah, exactly. They're taking it out. But you've got a Lions tour as well. I know, just before you go, I know you got injured before the last one. Must have been devastating, but that must be like a real focus for you now. I know it's so hard, isn't it, pinning stuff on 2-year and 4-year cycles, World Cups, Lions tour. But for you personally, mate, you're one of the best loose heads in the world. Like, is that a big ambition for you to go and absolutely destroy the Australians in 2 years?
100%. Like,
good.
Obviously, like you said, like I lost out an injury the last time, and honestly, it's nearly the same feeling as kind of losing in the quarter final. It was just like kind of having something just taken away from you like that, like that kind of split second kind of thing. But like that's my next kind of very big kind of goal. But I've got a lot of kind of other ones before 2025.
And on that, Faz for coach, big Faz for coach of the Lions.
I back him. I back it.
Yeah, no doubt. There you go. Pick me, boss.
You do great for as a Lions coach.
Yeah. Just on that, like, as in everything you're hearing about Faz, like, normally you hear whispers, don't you, about different camps or whatever. But I've never heard more than like anything other than positivity around him as a coach.
Yeah, man. He really, when he came in, he did shake things up a bit. Like, he wanted to put his own kind of mark on things. And I think the thing he did best with that is just kind of knowing the pressure and what players were going through when they were in camp. Like, they had so much kind of on their plate. Like, they had being away from their family, kind of being in a new environment, being like having to take on so much more new things. Like, he had that kind of in the back of his mind, and he knew exactly the pressures that we were going through. So he wanted, like, he's a really family orientated man. So, like, he wanted the families to be around the team as much as possible. We had them over as much as we could over in when we were in France, and we were able to go home a good bit, like, during the preseason, like, and they were invited in a good bit as well. So there was that, and I just think because he's played the game himself, he gets it a bit. Like, he really understood kind of how hard players are working both on and off on the pitch, and he rewards that. He rewards hard work at the end of the day. But yeah, he's an incredible coach, and hope he's watching.
Yeah, he's listening. Don't worry.
I was on holiday with him as well, and he's even nice to me.
But that's what I mean. You're right though, because he understands the pressures. His son, look at everything that was going on with his son during the World Cup. Like they're the ultimate rugby family, aren't they? I mean, there's no bigger name in rugby
100%.
than the Farrells. But
the Barretts are up there.
Oh, I'll say the Barretts are up there as well. But as in, they're not coaching, are they? They're coaching Ireland as well, and the son's captain of England. So there's a different dynamic. But yeah, like with that, does he talk about Owen in camp or not? Like that must be an interesting dynamic when they play against England. Does he ever they joke about it or not?
Does he bring his son into camp as well? Like they take the kids in. Come on, son, in your camp.
Into camp. He brings his youngest son into camp, so he's got. I think he had Owen's kids wearing their Irish.
Yeah, I love that actually.
Their English ones at like an open training session before, but there is usually a bit of kind of stick thrown around about it, but he shuts it down pretty quickly. Usually, I'd say he's used to dealing with that now.
Right, Andrew. Hey, thank you very much for coming on the show, mate. And
no worries, lads.
It'll be great to see you back on the pitch.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Class act.
Cheers,
Loved
Andrew.
it, mate.
We'll have to get you to a live show in Dublin as well.
Yeah, we'll get him to a live show. Well, now he's open. We'll see what the media manager says about this. So hopefully they would have loved it.
See if I get cancelled. I'll be fine.
And we'll get you a Guinness and Black as well.
Yeah. Need that.
There you go.
Always said that modern is the
And
modern man.
blackcurrant.
That's why.
Guinness and Black.
Guinness and
Currant,
Black. Top bloke.
Yeah.
Class act.
Oh, mate.
Told you.
Do you know what? And you're right. We haven't had that many Irish on here because of the protection, and they don't do a lot. He's a legend, isn't he? We know a lot of them individually, don't we? Like,
yes.
Chatting about Dan Sheehan, was on holiday and he was in the restaurant. We had a good old chat, and we know people that know people and all that. They're all brilliant, and that is amazing to get him on and actually get the hurt and the pain out of him. And he was emotional then, but it shows how much it means to him all. What a bloke. Pod.
Rugby pod.